All right, guys, welcome to this session, and this session is on paraphrasing. I want you to pay really close attention to this one because paraphrasing is going to change the way you read and write. It's going to change everything. It's one of the most important aspects that you need to know when it comes to writing as well as reading. So why paraphrase? This is going to help you become both an amazing writer and an excellent reader. And throughout this session, you'll learn how and why. So let's talk about the benefits of paraphrasing. Why should you even do this? Why should you know this? Well, first of all, the mental process of paraphrasing is going to help you understand what you're reading better. When you paraphrase, by virtue of you paraphrasing, you're going to understand what you read way better. It's also going to help you avoid writer's block because it's going to let you legally borrow other people's work inside your own work. It's also going to allow you the opportunity to use valuable ideas from writers all over the world in your own writing. So instead of you having to come up with everything on your own, paraphrasing lets you legally use great ideas from anyone all over the world inside your own writing. And again, it allows you to still make it your own. So it allows you to still have your original writing. It's kind of like piggybacking off, a great sports player taking their talent and using it to build your own talent. All right, so real quick, before we get into it, what do you think paraphrasing is? So go ahead and jot it down. What do you think paraphrasing is? Go. All right, good. Before we get into what paraphrasing is, let's talk about what paraphrasing is not. Okay? Paraphrasing is not quoting. While quoting is okay to do, not as long as it's not excessive, it's not, paraphrasing isn't taking material and just quoting it. It's not saying the same thing someone else said. So you can't just take what someone else said and say the same thing. That's not paraphrasing. And it's also not repeating what someone said and simply replacing words with other words or phrases and synonyms. So it's not just taking what someone said and just replacing certain words. That's not paraphrasing. As a matter of fact, that's plagiarizing. We'll talk about that a little later, which is something you cannot do. So paraphrasing is, what is paraphrasing? It's your own original expression of someone else's ideas, and underline original. So it's taking like line by line an idea, line by line from what you're reading, and translating it into your own original expression. It's allowing you to take that person's words, their ideas, say it, re-say it, but make it original to you. And you'll learn how to do that by the end of this video. So here's some paraphrasing examples. Here's an original line. Her life spanned years of incredible change for women. Now here's a paraphrase. Mary lived through an era of liberating reform for women. So you see how it's taking the original idea, but the second sentence is almost just as good. It's taking the same idea, but it's restating it in a new original way that just sounds amazing. So for you to be able to paraphrase, obviously, what makes you a good paraphraser is your ability to have a great vocabulary, your ability to really understand what you're reading, because you're going to have to put it, in a new light. And that's hard because when you read something, just naturally, you kind of like when you look at the words, it's like you copy the words naturally. So you have to find a way to distance yourself from what you're reading and make it your own but also, grasping the original idea. Here's another example. An original sentence is, any trip to Italy should include a visit to Tuscany to sample their exquisite wines. Here's a paraphrase. Be sure to include a Tuscan wine tasting experience when visiting Italy. Again, they're saying the same thing, but they're saying it in different ways. In the paraphrase, again, it's adding value. When you paraphrase, it's adding more value to the original sentence, and it's your original form of expression. Now remember, you have to credit the original writer. When you paraphrase, you're still supposed to credit the original writer. So it's not that if you paraphrase something that means it's yours. No, you're paraphrasing it because you want to use what the writer said. You actually like what the writer said and you want to utilize their ideas, but you don't necessarily want to quote it and you don't want to copy it. So you want to put it in your own words, but you still have to give them credit and say where you got that from. And that's what you do in a research paper or online. You mention where you got the original work from. So I want you just to pause and just watch this video just for a few minutes here, and I'll show you right here. It's called How to Paraphrase. And this is a great video. So just pause the video and watch that. It's 4 or 5 minutes long. Go. All right, good. So now I want you to tell me one new concept you learned from that video. What did you learn from that video? Go. All right, good. So let's talk about the opposite. You're gonna practice paraphrasing soon, but I want you to make a clear distinction between what paraphrasing is and what plagiarizing is. Okay, the opposite of paraphrasing is plagiarizing, which is very, very wrong, especially in college, especially anywhere. So what is plagiarizing? Stealing someone else's writing, plain and simple. Taking someone else's work and stealing it. Even if you change up some of the words, it's still plagiarizing. So why is plagiarizing bad? Well, I want you to imagine that you wrote a book that took you 2 years of your life to write. Okay, think about like if you're gonna write a book and you sat there and wrote that book for 2 years, and then someone came along, stole your work, and just put it under her name. Just took your words, copied it, and just put it under her name and put out the book. What would you do if someone did that to you? How would you feel? Right? You get my drift. That taking what someone else wrote and spent their hard-earned time and effort in creating something of value that they wrote, and then someone taking that and just copying it without giving them credit, or just copying it without making it original to the new, without making it original, then it sucks. It's wrong. So believe it or not, plagiarizing can get you an F on an exam or paper. I want you to take good note of this, especially if you choose to continue, your college career, or if you're ever gonna write something in your future, like in the future. It can get you an F on an exam or paper if they find out that you plagiarized. And there are ways to find out if someone plagiarized. There are a lot of software tools that you can take in and find out if someone stole something from Google or whatever. It can definitely get you kicked out of college. Take my word, I've seen students in the past actually go through the entire class, do all the work, and then they actually copied information straight from Google on their papers, on their research papers, and they got an F at the end of the class. So that's really, definitely don't want that to happen to you. So you want to learn from other people's mistakes here. You don't want to make this mistake. It could also ruin your reputation. I mean, if you ever just copy someone's work, even at the job place, or because whatever you do in life, you're gonna have to write. Just put that, in your mind that almost every single thing you do, you're gonna have to eventually write somehow, some way. And if people find out that you stole someone's work, it just doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like you're lazy, like that you don't know how to do your work. It could get you sued. You actually can go to court. There are a lot of cases where people actually got sued by the original writer, and rightfully so. You can imagine, if someone actually wrote the information that you're stealing, how much they'd really want to get you back for doing that. So you definitely don't want to, avoid just taking someone's work and making it your own, right? So here's an example of plagiarizing. Let's look at the original sentence. Any trip to Italy should include a visit to Tuscany to sample their exquisite wines. Here's a plagiarized version. A trip to Italy should consist of a visit to Tuscany to taste great wines. So it's like I'm taking the same information, I'm just sprinkling a couple of different words here and there, and I'm saying that it's mine. No, it's not mine. I stole that. So the right way to do it is to say, be sure to include a Tuscan wine tasting experience when visiting Italy. So compare the new paraphrase correct version with the original, and then compare it with the plagiarized version. You can tell that the plagiarized just doesn't add value. What you need to know is that when you paraphrase, it has to be your own original way of saying the idea, and that you add value to it. So watch me plagiarize. This is what some students do, and this is what got a couple students in the past Fs, and even possibly kicked out of college. So here I'm gonna take an article right here from a website that I really like called Mashable, and it's a technology website. But here, let's say I'm supposed to write something here. So what a lot of people do is they take this and just copy it. The strategy is named after Chuck Forrest. So this article is about a guy who hacked the Jeopardy, hacked the system somehow, the Jeopardy game show. So let's say I just want to take this. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna paste it right here, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna rewrite this. All right, so if you see here, right, what I'm doing with what a lot of students do is they just read it and just like rewrite it. I made some misspellings here, and they just rewrite it and they're just switching up a couple of words. That will easily get you caught. That's so easy to catch by changing up a couple of words because software catches that. So you definitely, that's totally plagiarizing. You don't want to do that. That's an example. That's what you want to avoid. And then we're going to practice how to do this the right way. So how do you paraphrase something? Well, first you should read the passage until you understand it. Reread it until you actually get it, right? Don't just copy it, put it down somewhere and try to rewrite the words. Read the passage, understand it, and then jot down some quick points or keywords from the passage. So before you might want to jot down some things that you might forget, and then put it aside and then write out your paraphrase. So put the original one aside, because if you look at the original one, it's like you're going to keep copying the words. So put it away and try to retell. It's almost like you're retelling a story. So retell the phrase, the passage in your own way. Then when you're done, you could cross-check your version with the original just to make sure that your paraphrase is original and you said it in a new way. If you're going to use some, coins, like for example, I could definitely use this word Chuck Forrest in the example here because that's a unique thing that I have to make reference to. You could put that in quotes. So if you're going to talk about something, you borrow something, just put it in quotes. And then you put down the source of the original passage. And finally, as a side note, you can use words from the original passage that are common. That's called shared language. Something like chronic back pain, right? You're not going to change that. I mean, that's common language. So if something is really common, you have to use that. That's fine, particular words. All right, so what's the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing also before we go on to practice paraphrasing? To paraphrase means to express someone else's ideas in your own language, and to summarize means to distill only the most essential points of someone else's work. So summarizing is just taking the gist of what the person said. Paraphrasing is like taking it like line by line, and you want to express the exact ideas but in your own language. So it's a fine line there. You also want to check out, I want you to go ahead and look through this. I'm going to pause and I want you to look through this article right here. Okay, go. All right, good. So now I want you to practice. Here is a phrase, he got an A in class. He got an A in class. That's the original idea. I want you to write this, to paraphrase this line in your own words. So how would I do it? Add context to the sentence, express the idea in your own words. Somehow retell that someone got an A in class in your own way, right? And by saying this person got an A, that's not gonna work. So you have to just retell it in your own way. How can you express that someone got an A in class? Go. But you could pause the video right here and look through an original passage and what a legitimate paraphrase is of the original passage and an acceptable summary. And then here's an example of a plagiarized version. You could pause the video yourself and look through this. Here's the original passage again, and then here's a plagiarized version. Look how they simply just took a lot of the same or just replaced a couple of words here and there. All right, so let's practice some paraphrasing here. So I want to show you an article. There was something here by an old article in this celebrity blog. So basically what happened was, there was a company that made ice cream made out of breast milk, and they named it Baby Gaga. And Lady Gaga wants to sue the company for using the word Gaga in the name of their product. All right, so how weird is that? What do you think about that? It's kind of weird, right? But let's look at this. I'm going to pause, and I want you to read this to yourself. Lady Gaga and her people who are threatening to sue are not impressed with the expensive dairy delight. They claim that it rips off her name and reputation for profit. They're also concerned about associating Gaga's name with a product that could be contaminated and cause disease such as hepatitis. So how can you retell this story? How can you paraphrase this? So go ahead and paraphrase this. Go. All right, good. All right, so here's another thing. I want you to practice summarizing. So check out this. There was a video here you could watch. It's a minute. It's of Kesha tattooing a fan using a safety pin. she actually took a safety pin and some ink and tattooed one of her fans right after her concerts live, right on their skin. So it says here, an article that I chose was from an MTV blog, and it says that was the scene at a recent Kesha show where the grimy pop star pulled out some ink and a safety pin to give a more than eager fan a prison-style tattoo of a dollar sign on his ankle. Yikes. The only good thing about this ordeal is that someone was smart enough to capture it all on video. As you can see here, the kid wasn't drugged and forced to get the tattoo as one might expect. Instead, he totally went for it. And as he says in the video, this little tattoo now means so much to him. And not just because Kesha's famous, no, it's because just like Kesha herself, this guy likes falling asleep in gutters and waking up in trash bags. More broadly, he appreciates Kesha's message that being a degenerate party animal and wearing jorts are acceptable life choices. So if you want to watch that video, go ahead and do that. And then I want you to come back. I'm going to pause the video. I'll give you the link to the video. And then I want you to summarize this excerpt right here. Summarize it in your own way. Go. All right, so here's what I want you to do now. In a Google Doc, I want you to find 3 passages or excerpts from the blogs that you visit. All right, so find 3 passages and excerpts from blogs that you visit, just like you've done already. They don't have to be the one from last session, just any new blog is fine, new article is fine. Look for some new information. Now, each excerpt should be at least 40 words, right? Don't make it too long or too short because you want to paraphrase it. And then I want you to paraphrase each excerpt that you chose. So again, you're going to choose 3. They could be from the same article. They could be from different articles. It doesn't matter. Then in the Google Doc, copy and paste the original passage. Again, there will be 3 passages, so copy and paste each. Underneath each passage, put the URL to the passage so I can go and look at it. And then underneath each passage, underneath the URL, write your paraphrase underneath it. So I want you to go ahead and do that now. Again, and then just paste the Google Doc right here. All right, so if you have any questions, let me know. I hope you understood what paraphrasing is and what plagiarizing is. Again, paraphrasing is doing it all in your own words. All right, good job. So this concludes the session. You did a great job, and I'll see you in the next video.